When a liberal journalist took aim at Barron Trump, ridiculing him in a way that many saw as unnecessary and cruel, no one expected the response that followed. The youngest son of former President Donald Trump has largely stayed out of the spotlight, making headlines only on rare occasions. But this time, he was thrust into the center of controversy, not because of anything he did, but because of the comments directed at him. The journalist, known for their outspoken views, made a remark that many perceived as a cheap shot. They mocked Barron in a way that felt unfair, considering his young age and private nature. While public figures often become targets in political discourse, presidential children have historically been granted a level of respect, regardless of party affiliation. But in today's highly polarized climate, it seems even that unspoken rule is fading. What made this situation different, however, was Barron Trump's unexpected response. Unlike what many might have assumed, perhaps an angry reaction from his family or an outcry from supporters, Barron handled the situation in a way that left people stunned. Instead of firing back with words or engaging in a war of rhetoric, he did something that completely changed the narrative. Witnesses and insiders revealed that Barron's response was calm, composed, and even somewhat humorous. Rather than letting the criticism get to him, he demonstrated a level of maturity and self-awareness that many adults struggle to achieve. Some reports suggest that he brushed off the remarks entirely, choosing to ignore them rather than give them power. Others claim that he responded in a way that subtly turned the insult back on the journalist, making them look petty in the process. What's even more remarkable is how people from both sides of the political spectrum reacted. Many who may not have supported the Trump family found themselves impressed by Barron's demeanor. Instead of responding with anger or lashing out, he displayed a sense of grace and confidence that caught everyone off guard. Even some critics had to admit that his reaction was unexpected, proving that he is not just another political figure's child, but someone who carries himself with dignity. This situation brings up an important question. Why do political figures' children become targets in the first place? Historically, children of presidents have been given a degree of privacy, regardless of their parents' policies or actions. Chelsea Clinton, Sasha and Malia Obama, and even the Bush twins have all had moments where they were unfairly scrutinized. Yet there has always been a general understanding that children should be off limits. However, in today's digital age, social media amplifies every comment and controversy. People on all sides feel emboldened to say things they might not otherwise, often without considering the real-life impact of their words. This incident with Barron Trump serves as a reminder of how toxic political discourse has become, and how even those who never asked to be in the spotlight can become unwitting targets. Yet, Barron's handling of the situation sends a powerful message. Rather than giving his critics the reaction they wanted, he showed that true strength lies in restraint. He didn't need to argue or defend himself. His composure spoke volumes. And in doing so, he managed to turn the tables on those who sought to tear him down. Following this incident, many people took to social media to express their thoughts. Some defended Barron, arguing that he should be left alone. Others praised his response, calling it an example of maturity beyond his years. Even some high-profile figures weighed in, noting that this kind of criticism is exactly what divides people rather than brings them together. Interestingly, the journalist who made the initial remark faced backlash not only from Trump supporters, but also from neutral observers who felt the comment was uncalled for. This reaction serves as a reminder that, despite political differences, there are still lines that shouldn't be crossed. And in this case, the public seemed to agree that ridiculing a young man who has stayed out of politics was one of those lines. This moment also adds another layer to Barron Trump's unique position. As the son of a highly controversial political figure, he has spent most of his life under intense scrutiny. Yet, he has remained largely private, making very few public statements or appearances. The way he handled this situation suggests that, despite the pressures of his last name, he has developed a strong sense of self. The aftermath of this incident left many people reflecting on the way political discourse has evolved in recent years. It's one thing to criticize policies, public figures, or even political ideologies, but when that criticism extends to the family members of politicians, especially children, it raises ethical questions. Many political analysts pointed out that Barron Trump has never engaged in political discussions, never campaigned for his father, and has never made any public statements regarding policy. Unlike other members of the Trump family who have taken active roles in politics or business, Barron has remained almost entirely out of the public eye. So why was he targeted? Some believe that in today's highly divisive political climate, anyone associated with a prominent figure is fair game. Others argue that this incident was less about Barron himself and more about the journalist's attempt to score political points or gain attention. Regardless of the motive, it backfired. Even those who have been vocal critics of Donald Trump spoke out in defense of Barron. Public figures across the spectrum condemned the remark, emphasizing that children should be off limits regardless of their parents' political affiliations. Several high-profile journalists even criticized their colleague, stating that taking cheap shots at a teenager is not only unprofessional, but also undermines the credibility of serious journalism. The response from the Trump family was also telling. While many expected an aggressive rebuttal, perhaps from Donald Trump himself, known for his fiery rhetoric, what happened instead was a measured and strategic reaction. Melania Trump, who has always been fiercely protective of Barron, released a brief but pointed statement, reminding the public of her long-standing stance that children should not be attacked for their parents' politics. Donald Trump, on the other hand, did not immediately respond in his usual outspoken manner. Instead, he allowed the situation to play out, knowing that Barron's quiet handling of the controversy spoke louder than any statement he could have made. This restraint on the part of the Trump family surprised many and shifted the focus from the insult itself to Barron's dignified response. As the controversy unfolded, the journalist who made the remark faced mounting pressure. Calls for an apology grew louder, and eventually they were forced to address the backlash. While their initial reaction was defensive, claiming it was just a joke or a passing comment, the overwhelming criticism led to a formal apology. In a carefully worded statement, the journalist admitted that the remark was inappropriate, and that Barron Trump, like any other child of a president, should not be subject to public ridicule. While some accepted the apology, others saw it as too little too late. After all, the damage had already been done, and the incident had reignited debates about media bias, political attacks, and the treatment of public figures' families. However, if there was one clear winner in this situation, it was Barron Trump. His reaction, or rather, his lack of reaction, demonstrated a level of wisdom beyond his years. Instead of engaging in the negativity, he rose above it, showing that sometimes silence can be more powerful than words. This incident also served as a wake-up call for the media. It highlighted the need for responsible journalism and the importance of maintaining ethical standards, even in the heat of political disagreements. While politicians expect to be scrutinized, their children should not be collateral damage in the ongoing ideological battles. Looking ahead, this situation could mark a turning point in how Barron Trump is perceived by the public. Until now, he has been somewhat of a mystery, known but not heard, seen but not frequently discussed. Yet, in this moment, without saying much at all, he made a lasting impression. His ability to handle public scrutiny with grace and confidence suggests that he is more than just the son of a former president. He is an individual with his own identity, and if this situation is any indication, he is someone who will not be easily shaken by the noise of the political world. As the dust settles, one thing is clear. Barron Trump's response, or lack thereof, left everyone talking. And in a political era where outrage and reaction dominate the headlines, his quiet strength was the most unexpected and powerful statement of all. As the discussion around this incident continued, many people began drawing comparisons to past situations involving the children of presidents. Some pointed out how Sasha and Malia Obama faced criticism during their time in the White House, with certain media figures making inappropriate comments about their appearances or behavior. Similarly, Chelsea Clinton was subjected to ridicule during her father's presidency, Yet even some of Bill Clinton's fiercest political opponents spoke out against attacking a child for political reasons. The difference, however, is that in those cases, there was often a strong bipartisan consensus that presidential children should be left alone. But with Barron Trump, that same level of respect hasn't always been as evident. Perhaps it's due to the intense polarization surrounding his father, but whatever the reason, the fact remains. Barron has been unfairly targeted multiple times, despite never stepping into the political arena himself. Even as the controversy faded, the way Barron handled the situation remained a talking point. Some observers noted that his approach was similar to that of his mother, Melania Trump, who has often been described as reserved and composed in the face of public scrutiny. Others speculated that he had been taught from a young age to ignore negativity and avoid engaging with detractors, a valuable skill for someone growing up in the political spotlight. The way Barron conducted himself also led to increased interest in his future. Unlike his older siblings who have taken on business and political roles, Barron has remained largely out of public life. This incident, however, gave people a glimpse into his character, one that is seemingly unfazed by criticism and mature beyond his years. Some began to wonder, could Barron Trump eventually step into the public sphere in a more meaningful way? While there's no indication that he has any political aspirations, this moment showed that he possesses a level of discipline and composure that could serve him well in whatever path he chooses. If nothing else, it proved that he is not easily rattled, a trait that is essential for anyone navigating the pressures of fame and public scrutiny. Meanwhile, the journalist who ridiculed Barron faced continued backlash even after their apology. While some supporters of the journalist argued that the comment was blown out of proportion, the overwhelming consensus was that the remark was inappropriate. Some media watchdog organizations even used the incident as an example of the declining standards in political discourse, emphasizing that public figures, especially those in journalism, should hold themselves to higher ethical standards. What's perhaps most interesting about this situation is how it unintentionally humanized Barron Trump in the eyes of many. For years, he has been a somewhat mysterious figure, rarely speaking in public and often only seen in carefully managed appearances. Yet, through this controversy, people got a glimpse of his personality, not through his words, but through his actions, or rather, his refusal to react. This level of restraint is not something commonly seen in today's culture, where people are quick to defend themselves, argue online, or engage in public feuds. Barron's decision to remain above the fray made him stand out, and for some, it even earned him newfound respect. Even those who may not be supporters of his father found themselves admitting that Barron handled the situation with impressive maturity. Some even noted that his response was more composed than how many seasoned politicians or celebrities might have reacted in similar circumstances. As the media cycle moved on to new controversies and headlines, one thing remained clear. Barron Trump had left an impression. Without saying a word, he had managed to shift the conversation, turning an attempted insult into a demonstration of his quiet confidence. And perhaps that is the greatest lesson from all of this. In a world that often rewards outrage and reaction, true strength sometimes lies in knowing when to stay silent. Barron Trump may not have intended to make a statement, but in doing nothing, he made one of the most powerful statements of all.